and welcome to episode 2 in this series about building the ultimate DIY tech house. In this video, we're going to go through some of the design elements of sort of figuring out what we're going to build and how we're going to build it, and then we're going to actually start kicking off the building process. In the next video, we're going to dig into the electrical system and some things you should consider as it relates to high voltage electrical when you're designing your house. So with that in mind, let's take a look at what we're going to build. So we have here a picture I took with a drone when we were starting sort of designing what we're going to build. And this little orange box here represents sort of the area that we're able to put a house in. And so it's obvious that it's somewhat of a narrow and long space for a house. It ends up being about 55 feet wide by maybe 120 feet in depth. Is sort of the footprint of where we're able to put a house. The driveway comes in here from the top, and there's no driveway there yet, just some cleared trees, so we'll have some work to do there. But you'll come in through the trees here and then arrive at the house. This is on the downward slope of this little mountain range that goes between Portland and Beaverton. And so we're relatively close to the top of it. It's about maybe 1,100 feet altitude here versus, sea level down at the bottom. And so there's quite a bit of slope here, and there's quite a bit of material that's been cut out here. And so that sort of dictates some interesting things in how we design the house. Anytime you have a house that has dimensions that are much longer than one dimension, you always have a little bit of thought that has to go into how do you access different parts of that house, whether it be a hallway or going through rooms. And so that created a little bit of a constraint. Another constraint that's interesting is thinking about where the sun is relative to things like windows. And in our previous house, we had a great room that was a 2-story great room, so it had windows that were pretty tall, about 20 feet in total height. And that room was facing directly south. And here in Oregon, the summers, so about 3 months of summer, it's exceptionally sunny. You might go 30 days without any precipitation at all. And of course, we're at 45 degrees latitude, so that sun's coming really directly from the south. And the result was that we had blinds on those windows. And during the summer, most of the summer, those blinds were closed. Because otherwise the room would get both really hot and it produced a tremendous amount of sunlight that was a little bit hard to see in. And so it made us think a little bit about the orientation of windows. And so, here you can see south is up here to the upper left corner. And so one thing we knew was that we wanted to replicate a similar feel in this house, that we wanted to have a great room that had tall ceilings with lots and lots of windows. The other 9 months of the year, it's somewhat gray and raining here. And so it's really helpful to have as much external natural light as you possibly can get. And so we decided we knew we wanted to have this great room here in the back corner of the house with all of those windows to the north. And that has some really particular advantages. In this particular case, the sun is here to the south, and even at its highest point, it never really crosses over the plane from this corner up to about here, which means that all of these windows here would not need to have any window coverings at all. And so you could really maximize the amount of light you have coming into the house, because they would never have direct sunlight. Also looking in this direction is outward towards both all of the trees in the forest here, and there are some mountain views. You can see Mount St. Helens and Mount Adams, and so it was a good location as far as where those windows would be. And so that was one of the anchor points in the design. We sort of knew we wanted that to be here. We also knew we needed a garage that we could park in that was accessible from the driveway here. And we sort of guessed we'd like to have our bedroom, the master bedroom, here in the back corner, only because there's a really good view of Mount Hood in this direction. And so you have some constraints to help you design things. And then it's time to start, writing down ideas. And so we spent a lot of time drawing out little draft plans of what a floor plan might look like. In some cases, you could draw a plan and sort of visualize what it might look like. I had an easy time looking at a drawing and figuring out what it would feel like. My wife really wanted to be able to see more things, and so we spent a lot of time in our garage building up little virtual spaces and laying out on the floor with tape what a room would look like, so you could sort of see what it would feel like to walk into that room. But at the end of the day, you're drafting and designing up different house plans and different ways of doing it. Like anything, it's helpful to look at as many different floor plans as you possibly can. You should look everywhere and anywhere, go walk through houses, see houses, because there will always be little nuggets of an idea you'll pick up somewhere that then you can incorporate it into your plan or realize doesn't work very well. And both of those happen at almost equal ratio. So we went through a process of doing that and spent about a year doing different design things and working with an architect to figure out both what we could build, how we could build it, what the engineering would look like to make it work. And we eventually came up with a workable design, and so we have a set of plans that describes what we're going to build, and it ends up being a 3-story house, which makes sense given the location and sort of the length and the design of the lot. And it has a main floor, an upper floor, and a lower floor. And the lower floor is sort of my primary workshop area. So there's a shop and a lot of space here for doing lots of cool project stuff, along with another garage up top where we can park cars that we drive a little more regularly. And we also added effectively a back deck. It's called a terrace. But this is quite high off the ground. It ends up being about 20 feet off the ground here. And that's quite nice because it kind of puts this back deck up in the trees. So you're a little bit up in the canopy of the trees as opposed to down at the base level, which in the summer especially is a really, really nice, a nice feeling to be up in the trees a little bit. So we had a plan figured out. We had, a floor plan we mapped out. Like I said, floor plans are something you can spend lots and lots of time experimenting and seeing how different things feel. We knew we wanted this multi-story great room. And so this room here ended up being about 24 feet tall, with windows that go all the way from the floor to the ceiling. And so that gives you really a lot of light into this room. And the dining area also has windows that wrap around. And so this gives you just a lot of light coming in throughout the year. One of the things about, when you're designing a house is you often have hallways or corridors, and, you generally view hallways as somewhat of a wasted space. And so you oftentimes end up minimizing them, making the rooms bigger and the hallways smaller. We went with a slightly different take on that, which is that we knew that this was going to be a lot of space, and we actually allocated more space to this main entrance hallway than you normally would. So this hallway is about 9 feet wide, and of course the ceilings are 10 feet tall. So it's a relatively large open space. And it really adds a tremendous amount to the feel of the house when you walk in to have such a grand amount of space in that sort of allocation. And as you walk in the house, once you get about 3/4 of the way down here, you can see that this area here is very, very open, and you can see light coming in from the windows there. And another minor thing we did that kind of helped increase sort of the flow of light through the house is that on the second floor, this is above the main floor, and where this area here represents that great room that is tall. The area of the staircase, there's a little space here at the top of the staircase. And this wall here is only a half wall. And so this whole space here is open into the staircase space. And what that means is that all the light that comes in from all these windows can illuminate this entire area, including the staircase. And that really adds a lot of dimension to that space, especially from it not feeling kind of small or closed in. And as an interesting side effect, and this happened as we were building, we were looking at it, and as you walk in here, this staircase is open. And of course, this is, the floor above is open into this space here. So from the front door through here, you actually can see a little bit of the edges of the top of this room here. And that drove some decisions like the ceiling above the great room and all the way down the hallway upstairs is an all wood, it's a hickory planks. And you can kind of see that connection from the front door all the way through to the ceiling in both places. So there are lots of cool design elements you can focus on when you're designing a house. Again, we had some particular things we wanted to do to make the space usable, a lot of office space, things like that. And then on the lower floor, which is sort of the workshop area, ended up being quite a bit of space. It's almost 3,000 square feet of this lower floor. And this is all built in a technique the same as you build the normal part of the house. So it's all fully insulated. There's an individual HVAC system for this entire floor. So it's effectively the same as the rest of the house with its own system. And this lower garage is deeper than the rest of the garage space here. This ends up being, I think it ended up being 14 feet, 6 inches tall, which is really good for having things like car lifts and stuff like that. And it gives you a little more a little more storage. And so we had this floor plan and we sort of knew, what we were going to build and how we're going to do it. I will comment that after doing this floor plan, we did a little 3D model of what it might look like, so we could walk through it both visually and see what it was. I took this model and put it into Google Earth as a KML file so you could see, hey, this is what it kind of looks like in the trees there. It's not a perfect location, but it's pretty close. And so this gave us the confidence to go ahead and start doing building. I did take those original floor plans before we started building and map out where all the lights would go and where all the circuits would go. And we'll cover this in much greater detail in the next video. We're going to dig into the high voltage electrical system. But one of the reasons for doing this was to make sure that in the architectural design, there was adequate space in walls and conduits for the wiring to make it possible to wire. And one of the things you can't see from this design is that, and if I go back to like here, is that this is a relatively large square footage of open area, and there's 2 stories of house above this. And that means that this is a tremendous amount of load across these connections here. And so as a result, there's quite a bit of steel. So there's large steel beams that span the entire length of the house, both this way, and there are some cross beams as well as steel posts that go into the foundation. And so whenever you have steel construction, particularly large, 24-inch I-beams, it makes wiring a little more difficult because in some cases you can't always cut through them, some cases you can, but it's certainly non-trivial to do that. And so it means you need to think about, in a plan like this, how are all of these wires going to make it and where are they going to go? And we'll go into that in greater detail in the next video. I will add that in the garage and the shop space, I did some modeling of how cars could fit in there and where I might put things in there. It's really worthwhile to do this when you're in the design phase and not when you've already done the design and you're completed with it, because you want to figure out, is this space going to work the way you think it's going to work? One of my goals was to have it so that we could have 12 cars parked inside of the house, and so I was able to make that work with a little bit of maneuvering of a few of the walls and things. And so it's really important to do that modeling if you can and kind of think through as much as you can about how you might use the space and how things are going to move in the space, how you can move cars around. And the more you think through those things, the better chance you'll have of discovering it in the design phase versus during the construction phase, which is always a little harder to fix. So with that in mind, so we've have a plan that we can build on. It took another 7 months or so of permitting and going back and forth with some engineering to get the ability to start doing some actual dirt moving. But eventually we were able to do that. And so now we'll take a look, just a quick end of the video with a little bit of the start of the moving of the soil and getting things ready for a foundation. So the holes they're digging there are digging out the tops of some of the pillars because those are locations where footers need to go. And so the pillars were actually in the way for where some of the footers had to go. So we had to dig out the tops of the footers and break them up and cut out the rebar, which was quite a bit of work. You can see one of the machines there has a little arm on it that is a concrete breaker that can break up the concrete, and then we're able to cut out the rebar so we have a place to put some of the footers. So putting in gravel there to get those places flattened out and ready for building some forms for the footers. Now the ground's relatively flattened there, which kind of gives you an idea that upper part is where the house starts at, and then it steps down, and then the very bottom of the frame has the cutout where the shop is going to go. You can see them using a little laser measuring device there to measure the level of the ground and try to get it scoped out properly for where things need to go. After a bit more of work there, they started to put up the forms for the foundation footers. And this took a couple weeks of time to do. They were doing that while also working on the back part of the property. We were lucky this was during the summertime, so there was really no rain at all which made it much easier because it would be very messy if it rained during this part of the construction process. And this is coming in from the west towards the property. You can see the house spot is really buried in the trees, and it's really surrounded by a forest in all directions. It really is quite a beautiful place. It's very green. Perhaps one of the benefits of the 9 months of rain a year we get.